My name is Claire Northcott. I do community relations for FamilyPlus. We'd just like to welcome you on behalf of our Executive Director, Heather Mon, and our Board Chair, Alison Townsend. Welcome to FamilyPlus. Some of you have been here, some of you are very familiar with us, some of you not so much, but you will know a lot about us. Our agency has been in existence for 90 years, serving the Sussex to St. Stephen area through our counselling and our programs for children and families. I see we have several partners in attendance, including youth serving agencies, government departments, and our funding partners as well. We're delighted that you've joined us because we believe this will be something that all of us can rally around together and show the true meaning of collaboration in the coming years. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Member of Parliament for St. John Rossay, Wayne Long, who along with his colleagues Karen Ludwig and Elena Lockhart are hosting this announcement. Wayne.
Well, good morning. It's great to be here. It's certainly great to be here with Elena and Karen. Certainly want to acknowledge Minister Andrea Anderson-Mason, Minister of Justice and Attorney General for the province. Welcome. And I say this often when we make announcements. All of us as elected officials have the opportunity to stand at podiums and make announcements. And they're all good announcements. But when you have an opportunity to be here with people like Claire and FamilyPlus Services, what they do and the services they offer, it's absolutely incredible. And you can just see the excitement around this room this morning. I remember when we first met about this project and about the vision and about a centralized approach to services. And it was probably 4 years ago. And I was struck by the passion, the emotion, and the conviction of Claire and the team at FamilyPlus, what they wanted to do with a centralized approach, centralized hub from Sussex to St. Stephen for people that needed the support. And I will say that it's a perfect example of how an MP's office can work with a nonprofit to help these projects, make these projects happen. I certainly want to recognize Nora Robinson, who is my assistant at the office, but also worked hand in hand with Claire, with the departments, with the ministry to help hold this project. Child advocacy centers are child-focused centers that coordinate the investigation, intervention, and treatment of child abuse while helping abused children heal. They bring together a multidisciplinary team of professionals to meet the needs of young victims and their non-offending families, all in one, and that's the key thing here, in one safe, child-friendly space. Studies of child advocacy centers have shown that children who receive their services and support felt less intimidated during the forensic interview than those who live in communities that do not have this option. Children seen at child advocacy centers are also more likely to receive referrals for specialized mental health services. It's great to be here on behalf of David Lametti, Minister of Justice and Attorney General, to announce this wonderful, wonderful announcement we're going to do. Children and youth that become victims of abuse and violence need access to a safe, child-friendly space to go where they can obtain information and services in order to begin healing from the trauma and pain that too many experience. We must also ensure that we build trust in the institutions that exist to offer them protection. And I can remember Claire articulated the trauma that these victims go through, and then they're sent here, and then they're sent there, and then they have to wait here. And this announcement will change that. It is important that the Government of Canada, not-for-profit organizations such as FamilyPlus, Life Solutions, and other levels of government work together to better support child and youth victims by developing and implementing effective and innovative service models. So, I am here today. I'm thrilled to be here, always, to announce with my colleagues on behalf of David Lametti, the minister in Ottawa, $739,000 in funding over 5 years to to help FamilyPlus. And I can remember, seeing Claire in the pedway and stuff, and like, is it going to happen? What do you think? Did you make any calls this week? And I would talk to Nora, who would talk to Kevin, in Ottawa, and we'd make another gesture. I'd have another meeting with the minister or the department, and Nora would follow up. And, it's like I say, it's pretty exciting to be able to announce something that significant. It's truly life-changing and life-saving. There's so many people in our region from Sussex to St. Stephen. This project and others like it represent our commitment as a government and as a nation to respond to the rise in the number of complexity of child and youth abuse cases. We must continue to develop and support child-centered approaches that help minimize the stress and challenges faced by victims of abuse and their non-offending family members who are seeking help. This initiative also speaks to the Government of Canada's broader efforts to transform the criminal justice system and support the needs of victims and survivors. We are committed to effectively addressing gaps in the supports available to these vulnerable groups. This funding is provided by way of the Department of Justice Child Advocacy Center's initiative of the Victims Fund, which provides funding to non-governmental organizations that serve victims and whose programs and activities are aligned with the Government of Canada's priorities. Today's funding will help FamilyPlus Life Solutions and its partners to further strengthen their efforts to help young victims in St. John, Sussex, St. Stephen, the whole community, and will help realize their vision of introducing an innovative approach, a centralized hub approach that has already been proven extremely successful elsewhere. FamilyPlus Life Solutions has been providing outstanding, incredible support to families since 1929. It is the largest not-for-profit therapeutic service provider in New Brunswick. We are confident that this organization will continue to help support child and youth victims of abuse and help guide them on their path forwards to healing and to achieving their boundless potential in the future. So again, let me close with this. It's wonderful that we're here to make this announcement. It feels so good to be able to help deliver funding to an organization like yours that, we all know that nonprofits run on a very tight budgets and funding and dollars are always very, very difficult to obtain. But to be able to stand up here today and announce significant funding, almost $750,000, to a wonderful organization like yours is truly one of the nicest announcements I think we've ever made here in St. John. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Wayne, for your support over the past few years. It's really been authentic and responsive. Your staff have been incredible to work with, and we look forward to continued relationship with our federal representatives. I have to say that, just a side note, when we found out about the announcement, we happened to be in the Air Canada Lounge in Toronto, and Nora called, and Heather Mon, our executive director, Katina Fagos, our clinical case manager, and I were together, which is unusual. And we were had been exploring actually a child and youth advocacy center in Toronto, and we're on a bit of a high. I think everyone in that whole Air Canada Centre thought that we had just won the lotto. And believe me, we felt like we did because of what was coming to St. John. We're so very excited. As I mentioned, this is truly a regional announcement. While the physical centre will be here in St. John, the model will be regional and will be responsive to our rural communities in an inclusive way that meets the needs of victims in every corner of our reach. I'd like to invite Karen Ludwig, Member of Parliament for New Brunswick Southwest, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, and a very good morning to all of you. It was a beautiful drive this morning from St. Andrews. As the Member of Parliament for New Brunswick Southwest, it's a massive riding. It's 11,000, hey Joe. 11,000 square kilometers starting from Campobello, borders St. John, touches on Sussex, touches on the border of Fredericton, so it is definitely a regional announcement. Ironically enough, when I look at my colleagues here, Elena and Wayne, for 4 years, or almost 4 years, we sat together. So it was Lockhart, Long, one guy in between, Longfield, Ludwig. So it's always great when we're back together again. So welcome to Wayne and Elena, Allison Townsend, the chair of the board of directors for FamilyPlus Life Services, and also my friend and colleague, Andrew Anderson Mason, the Minister of Justice and St. George member. So it's great. So this is an important community announcement. When I look back at Joe Oliver, for example, in the background there, Joe was a police officer when I was teaching sociology at UMBSJ, and that would have been in the early 1990s. I know, Joe's getting embarrassed over there. But certainly when we look at the approach that needs to be done for projects like this, it's so important that they are multidisciplinary and that we do have more tentacles coming in. When I was talking with Kathy in the back earlier this morning about the collection of data, one of the things that I heard loud and clear nationally with the Status of Women Committee, when we focused on women and young girls in domestic violence situations, whether it was my work at the Human Development Council from 1991 to 1993 on that study, it was very much the same. I would really encourage you as an organization to work on collecting data that's consistent, and that really has been a challenge across the country. So when people talk about different types of violence or initiatives, it's really important that the data is consistent so it can be comparable. So looking again at Joe and others, the university is a key player, I think, to help you out with relatively decently waged resources from the graduate programs. And so I just want to get that through it there. But as a mother and a grandmother, it's really heartbreaking to think that children are in situations like this. And when you think about someone coming forward to tell their story, sorry, I've got this really bad flu. I'm trying to get through this, but it's really hard to imagine that someone's not feeling safe to tell their story. And that initiative that you're working on is absolutely critical. Before the Status of Women Committee, we heard that amongst women as well. There was no advocate across the country consistently. When we talked about the mandatory training for judges, that was way up here. So certainly we tried to push forward and push through Rhonda Ambrose's private members bill, and we passed it as a committee. But we also heard from Crown attorneys, we heard from lawyers, we heard from different organizations that there is no mandatory training for those at different levels within the justice system. So I think as well, in terms of advocacy, your organization and the work you're doing is going to be absolutely tremendous and invaluable. But there's so much more that we need to do as a country, as a society, as a government, of pulling together so that everyone is getting the same message. So someone that goes forward to report an incident of violence isn't turned away or shamed because maybe they didn't have the right story or wasn't consistent. When we look across the country at national data, nearly 1/3 of Canadians aged 15 years and older, that's almost 9 million people, reported physical or sexual abuse in childhood. That's absolutely, absolutely unacceptable. And in fact, one is too many. We recently opened, or we're at the announcement for Carol Ann House, which is the Fundy Region Transition House in St. Stephen, and it's already full. Like, they're really important resources, but we certainly have much work to do pulling together to support people. And my hat goes off to all of you that do so much work to support those in need. And I'd like to give you a big round of applause for that. And the onus is on us as a government and as a community and as individuals to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Today, with this important announcement, we are doing exactly that by providing necessary funding. You have to do all the work now. For further supportive services in a safe and secure place for young victims of sexual abuse and violence. When we look at the family court in St. Stephen, family court has not been in St. Stephen for well over 10 years, so we know people have been traveling to St. John. But now knowing that we'd have a consistent and safe service, I think will be absolutely invaluable, not only for today, but this is generational. People are going to be believed, trusted, and supported. The funding for a new child and youth advocacy center to be located in St. John will help ensure that children in our communities from St. Stephen to Sussex receive much needed support from trained interprofessionals who understand, care deeply about their experience. I applaud Executive Director Heather Mon and her staff and the Board of Directors at FamilyPlus Life Solutions as they continue their important work in partnership with other community organizations to help these young people heal, and thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We're pleased with your support. We know you'll be an advocate to open doors to your constituents and to continue to coordinate services for your region. I first met Alana Lockhart in early February to discuss the project. Her enthusiasm was infectious and she supported the initiative without hesitation. Would our Member of Parliament for Fundy Royal, Alana, please join us?
And thank you for joining us today. I think it speaks volumes when you see this many people out for an announcement on a Friday morning, a beautiful Friday morning in the summer, about the impact and the work that's already been done and the potential for the work that can be done through this announcement. So thank you to all of you for joining me. And it really is my pleasure to be here today with my colleagues, Wayne and Karen, to talk about something that will be really special for families, children, youth, and our communities. And, I can say that as elected officials, I think the three of us, as well as Anderson Mason, we're extremely proud of the communities that we represent and the wonderful work that is going on the ground. Our jobs is to support and help you to innovate and deliver in our communities. And it's incredible to be here together to talk about something for the whole region. And I really want to also say a huge thank you to FamilyPlus Life Solutions for the work that you're doing, not only now, but for the last 90 years. Wayne took pause to say 90 years. That's a long time for an organization to be in place, and I think it really speaks volumes to the work that you're doing, to your board, and to the dedication. So congratulations on that. And this really is a demonstration of what partnership is like, and what collaboration can do. And I've done some work. Karen mentioned her work on status of women. I was working on the Committee for Veterans Affairs, and we talked to a lot of veterans that also experienced post-traumatic stress injuries. And, that consistent message is there, whether you're talking to children or adults, about the fact that having to tell your story in different ways to different people over and over and over again can be very traumatic. So coming together and having this collaborative work, it truly will have an impact. And as a government, it takes partnerships like this. And we really are thankful to have organizations on the ground that will help us in our mission to ensure that while we're growing our economy, that we're also making sure that every Canadian has a chance for success. And that means helping those that are the most vulnerable in our communities to succeed as well. And when I did meet with Claire back at the first of the year, and to hear about this project, I was convinced right away that they had the expertise, the network, and the footprint, and the understanding of our communities to be able to deliver real change. And so I just would like to take this moment to thank you all, and to thank Allison and Claire and the entire team at FamilyPlus for the great work that you're doing. I'm very excited. One of the things that we are working on very, very hard in our rural communities surrounding this area is to make sure that we are able to have consistent service there. And I really appreciate your commitment to serving all the way from St. Stephen to Sussex. It would be a tremendous help to our community as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena. It truly is a collaboration, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in excess of 12 years, FamilyPlus has been a member of the St. John Sexual Maltreatment Committee, providing youth and child victims with the necessary counseling and support of non-offending parents through the journey to healing. And that includes several government departments: social development, justice, victim services, Horizon Health. Sort of to kind of already build a team, a multidisciplinary team, so we're already ahead of the game in terms of building those relationships. The members of the committee saw in very early years that there was a need to streamline the systems and make the process of prosecution less traumatic for victims. As we enter the new phase of supporting victims through a child and youth advocacy center model, FamilyPlus understands the responsibility of developing the center and ensuring the viability for future years to come. I'd like to call upon Alison Townsend, the chair of our board of directors of FamilyPlus, for her remarks.
Thanks, Claire. And welcome, everybody. It's great to see such a good turnout. As Alina said, on a beautiful Friday morning. Thank you for coming. Our 90 years of experience and expertise providing mental health services for families in St. John positions us well for this important initiative. I'm going to go off script. I know that Claire's going to start twitching. But I do have to tell you that it's an in-joke on 90 years because I went off script one other time and said that Heather had been CEO for 90 years. Heather is not that old. But FamilyPlus has been around for 90 years in this community. They're a member of the St. John Sexual Maltreatment Committee since its inception over 12 years ago, along with the Departments of Health, medical physicians and sexual abuse nurse examiners, social development, law enforcement, justice, victim services, and public prosecution services. The collaborative, interprofessional team has had a common goal of increasing care for victims of childhood sexual abuse. I want to acknowledge the members of the St. John Sexual Abuse Maltreatment Committee for their excellent and tireless work over the years. Congratulations, Dr. Miriam McKenna. We thank them for their visionary work combined with their trust in FamilyPlus to provide leadership to the Child and Youth Advocacy Center development and ongoing operations. Children and youth who are victims of sexual maltreatment deserve a safe place designed to serve their needs first. We thank the Department of Justice for this funding and look forward to developing a multifaceted resource for our most vulnerable citizens, and to continue to work in partnership with a powerful network of local stakeholders. I would like to acknowledge and thank all fellow board members of FamilyPlus, the management and staff of FamilyPlus. The board stands on your shoulders. You're amazing. And to ensure the successful creation and management of the program for years to come. Congratulations, Heather, Claire, and Katina. I know your heart is there. This wouldn't have happened without you. With their experience and expertise in providing treatment for victims of childhood and youth sexual abuse, along with affected families and many other services to the community, FamilyPlus is the perfect choice to develop and manage the new CYAC. Yay, FamilyPlus.
Thank you, Alison. I am truly proud to be a part of FamilyPlus and to be directly involved in this project as the project manager. In the coming months, a site will be selected, a steering committee will be formed, and designs will be drawn. There will be a lot of change within our organization, and we thank our local community foundation for providing us with a grant to help us work through those changes while ensuring that we still provide the excellent service that you have all been accustomed to. We will see lots of input from community partners, government officials, and clients. We will also begin to find other ways that people can support the development of the center through financial and in-kind contributions. We know our provincial elected officials will be supportive of this way of working as a best practice model. And our desire would be that the entire province be served by a child and youth advocacy center. Our children deserve to have a safe place to heal. And to all our elected officials who I visited throughout the last year, thank you for being supportive of the concept. And when you asked me at our meeting what we needed, stay tuned, I'm coming back. We're just going to end the press conference at this time. I'm going to call upon Heather Mon, Marianne McKenna, And the folks here, we're going to take a quick picture. There are a couple of rooms for those that would like a separate interview with some of our folks. The next 2 rooms on the left-hand side, you can grab someone after the photo. And if you have any questions, certainly feel free to direct them to me, and I'll direct you to the right person. Thank you.